Welcome back to RE Coins News. Today, we're revealing the incredible story behind three legendary American treasures, the 1913D, 1916, and 1924 Buffalo nickels. These aren't just old 5-cent coins, they're historic masterpieces that have survived for more than a century. Discover the fascinating history, hidden details, real collector value, rarity, and the secrets that make these iconic coins so admired around the world. Stay with us until the end, because one small detail could completely change how you see these classic Buffalo nickels. Let's begin this amazing journey into America's most legendary 5-cent coins. Let's start right now. Imagine holding a small piece of metal that has silently witnessed more than a century of American history. The 1913D Buffalo nickel is far more than a 5-cent coin. It represents a bold moment when the United States chose to celebrate its own people, wildlife, and frontier spirit instead of copying classical European designs. Every scratch on an authentic example hints at decades of circulation, changing hands through generations during an era that transformed America. Long before collectors called it a treasure, this coin was born from a national movement to create distinctly American money. In the early 1900s, President Theodore Roosevelt encouraged artists to redesign U.S. coinage so it would reflect the country's unique identity. That vision eventually led to one of the most iconic coins ever produced, the Buffalo nickel. Rising from the presses of the Denver Mint in 1913, the coin carries the small but important D mint mark beneath the words 5 cents on the reverse. This mint mark identifies it as a Denver issue, making it one of the key varieties from the Buffalo nickel's very first year. Mint marks often become crucial to collectors because they reveal where a coin was struck and can influence rarity and value. Few people realize that the face on the coin is not a portrait of a single Native American chief. Sculptor James Earl Fraser explained that he blended the features of several Native American men he had known, creating a symbolic portrait that honored indigenous heritage rather than depicting one individual. This artistic decision gave the coin a timeless and dignified character. On the reverse stands the powerful American bison, commonly called the buffalo. Fraser stated that his inspiration came from a bison named Black Diamond, which lived in New York City's Central Park Zoo. Although historians continue to debate whether Black Diamond was the exact model, the design unmistakably symbolizes the strength and resilience of the American West. The year 1913 was especially significant because two reverse designs appeared during that first year. The earliest version, known today as Type 1, showed the buffalo standing on a raised mound. Unfortunately, the denomination wore away too quickly in circulation. Later that same year, the Mint introduced Type 2, placing the buffalo on a flatter ground with the denomination recessed to improve durability. Collectors often compare these two designs as an important chapter in U.S. coin history. Hidden in plain sight is the powerful motto, E pluribus unum, meaning, out of many, one. This Latin phrase expresses the idea that many states and many people together form one nation. On such a small coin, these words carry a message that has represented the United States for generations. Time has turned ordinary examples into historical artifacts. A 1913D Buffalo nickel in heavily circulated condition may be worth only a modest amount, while a well-preserved specimen with strong details can command significantly higher prices. Certified coins with exceptional surfaces, sharp strikes, and original luster are especially sought after in today's collector market. One reason Buffalo nickels fascinate collectors is that they often wore down quickly. The date and high points of the design were among the first features to fade after years of use. As a result, finding a 1913D coin with a fully visible date and bold details is much more challenging than many people expect. Every genuine Buffalo nickel tells a story that extends beyond collecting. These coins circulated during World War I, the Roaring Twenties, the Great Depression, and World War II. They bought meals, newspapers, train fares, and everyday necessities, quietly witnessing some of the most dramatic moments in American history. Collectors also search for interesting mint errors and striking varieties within the Buffalo nickel series. Off-center strikes, die cracks, double dies, and other mint-made errors can attract additional attention. However, such errors must be authenticated by respected grading services because many forms of damage that occur after minting can resemble true mint errors. Authenticity has become increasingly important as demand for classic U.S. coins has grown. Professional grading companies such as PCGS and NGC evaluate Buffalo nickels for authenticity, condition, and preservation. Their certification gives buyers greater confidence and often increases marketability. The artistic legacy of James Earl Fraser continues to inspire admiration more than a century later. His design broke away from traditional European influences and celebrated uniquely American subjects. Many art historians consider the Buffalo nickel one of the finest coin designs ever produced by the United States Mint. The 1913 D issue occupies a special place because it belongs to the very first year of the Buffalo nickel series. First-year coins often hold special appeal among collectors, especially when they also feature a distinct mint mark. This historical significance helps explain why interest in the 1913 D remains strong generation after generation. Condition is the defining factor in value. A heavily worn coin may be common, while the same date and mint in mint state condition can be dramatically more valuable. Collectors carefully examine details such as the buffalo's horn, the braid in the Native American's hair, the cheekbone, and the remaining luster to judge preservation. More than 100 years after it was struck, the 1913 D Buffalo nickel remains a symbol of endurance. It has survived changing economies, evolving collecting trends, and countless hands that unknowingly carried a future collectible in their pockets. Its continued popularity proves that true historical artistry never loses its appeal. This remarkable 5-cent coin is not valuable simply because of its age. It is treasured because it combines American history, exceptional artistry, cultural symbolism, and collector fascination in one small piece of metal. Whether worth only a few dollars in worn condition or hundreds or even thousands in exceptional certified grades, the 1913 D Buffalo nickel continues to remind the world that even the smallest coin can preserve an extraordinary story across generations. Coin number 2. What if one ordinary-looking 5-cent coin carried a story that stretched across more than 100 years of American history? The 1916 Buffalo nickel is exactly that kind of remarkable survivor. Minted in Denver during an era when the United States was rapidly changing, this coin represents far more than money. It reflects the nation's admiration for its frontier heritage, its respect for Native American culture as interpreted through early 20th century art, and its determination to create coinage that looked uniquely American. Every genuine 1916 Buffalo nickel has witnessed history in a way that no modern coin ever could. It may have traveled through the hands of farmers, railroad workers, merchants, soldiers, and families who never imagined that one day collectors around the world would treasure this humble 5-cent piece. Suddenly, a tiny D beneath the words 5 cents becomes one of the most important details on the entire coin. That single letter reveals that this Buffalo nickel was struck at the Denver Mint, one of the major facilities responsible for producing America's circulating coinage. During 1916, millions of Buffalo nickels were manufactured to meet everyday demand, but time has dramatically reduced the number of surviving examples in excellent condition. Countless coins were worn smooth through decades of circulation, making sharply detailed pieces increasingly difficult to find. Today, collectors carefully study the mint mark because it confirms the coin's origin and plays an important role in determining its desirability. Hidden within the coin's beautiful design is a powerful artistic achievement that continues to impress experts more than a century later. The portrait on the front was created by renowned American sculptor James Earl Fraser, who wanted to honor the strength and dignity of Native American people. Rather than copying one individual, Fraser combined features inspired by several Native American men he had encountered during his life, creating a symbolic portrait that represented courage, endurance, and the spirit of America's original inhabitants. This artistic choice transformed the buffalo nickel into something much greater than ordinary currency. It became a lasting work of miniature American art. Turn the coin over, and an equally unforgettable image commands attention. The majestic American bison dominates the reverse, standing with quiet confidence as a symbol of the nation's untamed wilderness. During the early 20th century, the American bison had already survived a devastating decline in population, making its appearance on the buffalo nickel especially meaningful. The design reminded Americans of the importance of preserving both their wildlife and their frontier history. Whether inspired by the famous bison known as Black Diamond or by Fraser's broader artistic vision, the powerful animal became one of the most recognizable images ever placed on a United States coin. Not every 1916 buffalo nickel tells the same financial story, because condition changes everything. A heavily circulated example with significant wear may sell for only a modest premium over its face value, while a coin displaying sharp details, original mint luster, and minimal damage can command far higher prices. Collectors examine the braid in the Native American's hair, the cheekbone, the feathers, and the buffalo's horn to judge how much detail remains. Certified mint state examples, authenticated by professional grading services such as PCGS or NGC, can be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars depending on their grade and overall eye appeal. The difference between an average coin and an exceptional one can be dramatic. Perhaps the greatest mystery surrounding the 1916 buffalo nickel is not how many were struck, but how many truly outstanding examples still exist today. Because these coins circulated heavily for decades, many lost their dates, their fine design details, and even portions of their inscriptions. Every surviving high-grade specimen represents an extraordinary combination of careful preservation, good fortune, and historical survival. That is why experienced collectors become excited whenever a beautifully preserved 1916 buffalo nickel appears at auction. It is not simply purchasing an old coin. It is acquiring a genuine survivor from one of the most fascinating periods in the history of the United States Mint. A small but powerful reminder that history can sometimes fit comfortably in the palm of your hand. Beneath its weathered surface lies a silent witness to one of America's most transformative eras. The 1916 buffalo nickel entered circulation just as the nation was expanding its industries, railroads, and cities. Within only a few years, these nickels would pass through the hands of people affected by World War I, carrying value in small, everyday purchases while quietly becoming part of countless personal stories. Unlike museum artifacts kept behind glass, this coin earned its place in history by living among ordinary Americans. Surprisingly, the greatest enemy of the buffalo nickel was not theft or loss, it was everyday use. James Earl Fraser's bold design was admired for its beauty, but the high points of the portrait and the buffalo wore down quickly in circulation. The date, positioned prominently on the obverse, often disappeared after years of handling. Because of this, fully dated 1916 buffalo nickels with strong details are much more desirable than examples with heavily worn surfaces. This natural wear has made well-preserved pieces increasingly difficult to locate over the decades. Imagine two coins struck on the same day in the Denver Mint during 1916. One spent decades moving from pocket to pocket, becoming smooth and faded through constant use. The other was tucked away in a drawer, a coin purse, or an old collection, escaping the harsh realities of circulation. More than 100 years later, those two coins can have dramatically different market values despite sharing the same date and mint mark. Preservation, not simply age, is what separates an ordinary collectible from an extraordinary one. Collectors around the world continue searching for exceptional buffalo nickels because each surviving example tells a different story. Some coins display unusually sharp strikes, where the details of the buffalo's horn and the Native American's braid remain crisp and complete. Others may show interesting mint-made characteristics such as die cracks, repunched mint marks on certain issues, or other production anomalies that specialists carefully study. Genuine mint errors are uncommon and should always be authenticated by respected grading services before being considered especially valuable. Beyond its monetary worth, the 1916 Buffalo nickel represents a turning point in American coin design. Before the Buffalo nickel, many U.S. coins featured classical themes inspired by European traditions. James Earl Fraser chose a different path by celebrating subjects rooted in the American landscape and its history. The combination of a Native American portrait and a powerful bison created one of the most recognizable designs ever produced by the United States Mint. More than a century later, many historians and collectors still regard it as one of the finest artistic achievements in American coinage. As decades passed, the 1916 Buffalo nickel quietly transformed from everyday pocket change into a respected historical collectible. Today, professional grading by organizations such as PCGS and NGC helps determine authenticity and condition, giving collectors confidence when buying or selling. While circulated examples are generally affordable, high-grade certified specimens with outstanding eye appeal can bring substantially higher prices at auction. Its lasting appeal comes not from myths or exaggerated claims, but from the remarkable combination of history, artistry, survival, and genuine collector demand that continues to grow with each passing generation. Coin number 3. Picture yourself uncovering a forgotten coin that has silently survived an entire century, carrying with it the echoes of America's past. The 1924 Buffalo nickel is far more than a 5-cent piece. It is a remarkable survivor from an age when the nation was rapidly evolving. Every genuine example has traveled through decades of economic change, historic events, and countless human stories. What appears ordinary at first glance soon reveals itself as one of the most admired coin designs ever created by the United States Mint. To collectors, it represents history preserved in metal. To historians, it reflects an era when American identity was proudly displayed on everyday currency. Without warning, the small inscription "Liberty" begins to carry a deeper meaning than most people ever imagine. Alongside the bold portrait of a Native American, the date 1924 marks a period when the Buffalo nickel had already become one of the nation's most recognizable circulating coins. Designed by celebrated sculptor James Earl Fraser, the portrait was not intended to represent a single individual. Instead, Fraser combined features inspired by several Native American men, creating a symbolic image of courage, resilience, and dignity that has remained admired for generations. Turn the coin over, and an unforgettable symbol of America's wilderness immediately commands attention. The magnificent American bison stands proudly on the reverse, representing endurance, strength, and the untamed spirit of the frontier. At a time when bison populations had dramatically declined from their historic numbers, placing this powerful animal on U.S. coinage served as a reminder of the nation's natural heritage. The design transformed an ordinary 5-cent coin into a miniature work of art that celebrated America's landscapes and wildlife, unlike any previous circulating coin. Few people realize that the year 1924 occupies a fascinating place within the Buffalo nickel series. Millions of these coins entered circulation to support everyday commerce, purchasing meals, newspapers, train tickets, and household necessities. Yet the passage of more than 100 years has dramatically reduced the number of examples that remain in outstanding condition. Many coins were worn smooth after decades of constant use, causing important details such as the date, the buffalo's horn, and the Native American's hair braid to gradually disappear. Finding a sharply detailed 1924 Buffalo nickel today is far more challenging than its original production numbers might suggest. Hidden beneath the surface of every authentic 1924 Buffalo nickel is a story of survival that collectors deeply appreciate. While circulated examples remain relatively accessible, coins displaying original mint luster, bold strikes, and minimal wear become increasingly desirable with every higher grade. Professional grading services such as PCGS and NGC carefully evaluate these coins, examining every detail before assigning an official grade. A small difference in preservation can dramatically influence market value, making exceptional mint state specimens far more sought after than ordinary circulated examples. This is why experienced collectors study every tiny feature before making a purchase. Perhaps the greatest reason the 1924 Buffalo nickel continues to capture worldwide attention is that it perfectly combines artistry, history, and rarity into one compact piece of American heritage. It has survived changing generations, financial crises, technological revolutions, and shifting collector interests without losing its appeal. Every authentic coin connects modern collectors with the people who once carried it through the streets of America during the 1920s. More than a century after it left the United States Mint, the 1924 Buffalo nickel still reminds us that true historical treasures are not always made of gold or silver. Sometimes they are hidden within the smallest coins that quietly pass from one generation to the next. As the roaring decade of the 1920s unfolded, the 1924 Buffalo nickel quietly became part of everyday American life. It moved from busy city markets to small rural stores, from railroad stations to family-owned businesses, helping people complete ordinary transactions that would later become extraordinary pieces of history. No one could have imagined that a simple 5-cent coin would someday become an object of fascination for collectors around the world. Every surviving example carries invisible memories of an era defined by innovation, determination, and rapid national growth. Look closely, and one tiny detail can completely change the story of this coin. The absence or presence of a mint mark identifies where it was struck. A coin with no mint mark was produced at the Philadelphia Mint, while a D indicates Denver and an S represents San Francisco. Among the 1924 issues, the 1924 S Buffalo nickel is especially well known because high-grade examples are significantly scarcer than many other dates in the series. This is one reason collectors carefully inspect the reverse of every Buffalo nickel before judging its importance. Beyond its impressive appearance lies a challenge that has tested collectors for generations. Buffalo nickels were struck with bold, artistic relief, but that same beauty caused the highest points of the design to wear quickly during circulation. The buffalo's horn, the animal's shoulder, the Native American's braid, and even the date often became faint after years of use. As a result, finding a 1924 Buffalo nickel with strong original detail is much harder than simply finding a coin from that year. Preservation has become one of the greatest factors influencing both desirability and value. Imagine discovering two identical-looking 1924 Buffalo nickels in an old family collection. At first glance, they might appear equally valuable, yet careful examination could reveal a remarkable difference. One may have been cleaned, polished, or damaged over the years, reducing its collector appeal, while the other may retain its original surfaces and natural luster. Experienced numismatists understand that originality is highly prized. A coin that has remained untouched for decades often attracts much stronger interest than one whose surfaces have been altered, even if both share the same date. Even after more than 100 years, the 1924 Buffalo nickel continues to earn admiration not because of exaggerated legends, but because of its authentic historical importance. Professional grading services such as PCGS and NGC authenticate these coins, helping collectors distinguish genuine examples from altered or counterfeit pieces. While circulated 1924 Buffalo nickels are often modestly priced, rare high-grade certified examples, especially scarcer issues like the 1924 S, can achieve substantially higher prices at major auctions. Its lasting reputation comes from the remarkable blend of American artistry, historical significance, and the relentless search by collectors for the finest surviving specimens. There comes a moment in every collector's journey when a coin stops being a collectible and becomes a piece of living history. The 1924 Buffalo nickel creates that feeling because it represents more than a century of survival. It has outlived the generation that spent it, the businesses that accepted it, and many of the buildings that stood when it first entered circulation. Holding one today creates a direct connection with Americans who lived during the 1920s, making this small coin a remarkable bridge between the past and the present. Deep inside the world of numismatics, the 1924 Buffalo nickel enjoys lasting respect because no two surviving examples tell exactly the same story. Some were carefully preserved by early collectors and still display much of their original mint brilliance, while others honestly reveal decades of circulation through smooth surfaces and softened details. Collectors appreciate both kinds for different reasons. One showcases the artistry of the United States Mint, while the other reflects the real-life journey of a coin that faithfully served in everyday commerce for many years. The excitement surrounding this coin reaches another level whenever an exceptional specimen appears at a major auction. Experienced buyers do not focus on age alone. They carefully evaluate strike quality, remaining luster, surface preservation, eye appeal, and overall rarity within its grade. Coins certified in the highest mint state grades can attract strong competition because so few have survived with outstanding detail. Rather than relying on exaggerated stories, their value is driven by documented rarity, collector demand, and the quality confirmed by professional grading services. Perhaps the greatest lesson the 1924 Buffalo nickel teaches is that true rarity is often hidden in plain sight. Many people assume every old coin is valuable, while others overlook genuine treasures because they appear ordinary. In reality, the coin's date, mint mark, condition, originality, and authenticity work together to determine its place in the collector market. That is why knowledgeable collectors examine every detail with patience before reaching conclusions, understanding that small differences can have a significant impact on desirability. As the final chapter of its story unfolds, the 1924 Buffalo nickel stands as one of the enduring masterpieces of American coinage. James Earl Fraser's vision transformed a simple 5-cent piece into an artistic tribute to the nation's frontier heritage, Native American symbolism, and the majestic American bison. More than 100 years after it was struck, this coin continues to inspire historians, collectors, and enthusiasts around the world. Its lasting appeal is not built on myths or impossible claims, but on authentic history, exceptional design, and the remarkable journey of a small coin that has carried the spirit of America across generations.